Good day, subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Jeremy. This is the Financial Education Channel, and today we are doing my favorite segment of the entire month called 3 Stocks I'm Buying Now. And this is the October episode. So let's jump right into this. Now, first off, we got to see what happened with the 3 stocks I was buying last month. How did they perform? Well, the 3 stocks were GoPro, Win, and a company named RH, which is Restoration Hardware. They sell furniture and whatnot. Win, just so you know, they have big, huge resorts in Las Vegas and Macau. They're a big gaming company. And GoPro is an electronics company that makes wearable cameras and drones now, things like that. So how did they perform in the month? So on your screen now, you should see GoPro's stock chart for the past month. GoPro was up 16% in the month, so it had a very strong month due to product introductions. They had the Hero 5 come out, Karma, etc. And those are actually coming out in the month of October, but they showed them off in September, and you got a big boost to the stock for that reason. Next up on your screen now, you see Win Resorts. Win was up 8% in the month. That had a strong month because toward the very end of the month, Win Palace opened, so there's a lot of excitement about Win, where they're going and whatnot. And the last one on your screen now is RH, Restoration Hardware. That stock was down, unfortunately, 2%. Not a big move. It had a nice move up in the month after earnings were reported, and it lost all of its gains, and it ended up finishing down a little bit on the month, as you see there on your screen. So the question is, what are the 3 stocks now? Well, I have one change to one of the stocks I kicked out, and I added a new one in. It is Apple got added, RH, Restoration Hardware, that got kicked out. I kicked that one out in about the middle of the month because it had that big upward move, and I actually posted a video on this channel on why I am a believer in Apple stock. I did that around the middle of September, maybe a little before the middle of September, right after the iPhone 7 launch. I'll get into that stock, but first we need to get into the 2 stocks I believe in the most. Number 1 stock still is GoPro. Now, a lot of reasons why I love GoPro right now, and you see last month it was up 16%. The month before on that episode I was a buyer of GoPro. It was my number 1 stock, and it went up a lot that month. So moving forward, what do we have here? On your screen now, you should see what I have for estimates and things like that here on GoPro. So if you go ahead and look at, you see the first top line there, it says analyst estimates. Now the number all the way to the left hand side on analyst estimates, the 471 million number, that's what the low end of what analysts expect for Q4, which is not the quarter we're currently in that they're going to report in about 3 weeks. That's the quarter, that's the Christmas quarter. So that's October, November, December quarter. So analysts are expecting 471 on the low end. The majority of analysts, so in between the high and the low, they expect 664. So that's what analysts are actually expecting. And on the high end, the highest number someone's expecting is 802 million for analysts. But you go ahead and look at my numbers here. I have them doing far, far, far better than any of the analysts. You look at even my low estimate. My low estimate is above what the analysts have for their high estimate. The highest estimate an analyst has is still lower than what I have for the low estimate. Reason being is, okay, so I have 3 million camera units there for the low estimate, right? In 2014, when they launched Hero 4, they sold 2.4 million in that Q4. Now, my thinking about GoPro and whatnot, one, they're in a lot more locations than they were back there then. Back then, they were mostly only US and Europe. Now they're in Asia big. China's one of their biggest markets. Japan. They just got in a huge retailer a couple months ago in India. So they really have become an international company. They're also much, much, much more known than they were back in 2014. Which is another reason why I see them selling far more camera units. And on top of that, I believe they nailed it on the price point with Hero 5 Black and Hero 5 Session coming out with $399 and $299. I thought originally they might do $499 and $399, and I thought that might be a hard sell. But the fact that $399 and $299, they are going to move a lot of units, in my opinion, a lot of units. That's why I have 3 million for my low estimate. I think they're going to far exceed that. If you go over to my normal estimate, the one that I would say is safe, that one is 3.5 million units. That's what I'm realistically thinking. That's my actual estimate. And on the high end, if they really did it, they could do 4.2 in my opinion, but I'm expecting 3.5. So now we go over and look at drone, and now let's just stick to the middle category, the normal estimate number, so we can match up my normal estimate against their normal estimates. So drones, I have them only doing 300,000 in drone sales. I wanted to take that category to a low number, and 300,000 is a low number in my opinion. I have a few reasons for that. One, it's a new product by GoPro, so a lot of people might be initially a little scared to try it. It's their first drone ever. The specs on it look awesome. It looks very simple, which will get a lot of consumers who probably would never try a drone because it was too complicated before. It's a simple product. They can understand it easily. So, and I believe they'll market it to consumers very well, much better than a lot of the drone companies have in the past. A lot of the drone companies in the past, they haven't even really marketed to normal consumers, to an everyday person. So I think GoPro, that's what they're so successful at. But I still have a very conservative, what I would consider conservative estimate on them at 300,000 units. Now you go ahead and think about, that's if say they sold 3.5 million camera units, to say they sold 300,000 drone units, that's about only 1 in 10 people are actually buying a drone that are buying a camera. So you could say, maybe that's a little conservative on my part going 300,000, but like I said, new product, and then it doesn't come out until October 23rd, meaning that November and December will be the big, huge ramp months. In October, you won't get a ton of revenue in there. Under that, we have an accessories category is what that next line under there. And I have 3.6 million accessories being used. That's roughly a 1-to-1 ratio, so I assume every person that buys a camera will at least buy one accessory. Now, of course, you're going to have a few people that buy a camera and don't buy any accessories, but you're also going to have some people that buy a camera and buy 2, 3, 4 accessories. So I just wanted to stay around a 1-to-1 ratio. I went a little above a 1-to-1 ratio. So we have 3.6 million units of accessories being sold. Now, if you want to figure out what the ASPs are on all this, you just divide out what my units number are versus the revenue number. You divide that out and you'll get what I have the ASPs for. And I tried to go very conservative on all the ASPs, so that way I believe they'll beat those. Under that, we have what's called the VR category, which is, or excuse me, no, the line under that, which is 50,000 units, that's the handheld stabilizer. So they have come out with the handheld stabilizer now, and that, I believe, will be a decent seller, but I believe that will be more of a niche market. So that's why I went with 50,000. And also, if you buy a drone, you automatically get the stabilizer in it, in the package, with no additional cost. So I believe a lot of people will just buy the drone if they're going to buy a handheld stabilizer, because if you would buy the drone package with the handheld stabilizer for $799, or you could buy just a handheld stabilizer for $299. So I believe a lot of people will just trade up and get the drone who want one. So that's why I went with 50,000 as my unit number for the handheld stabilizer. And it's a new product. Who knows how it will do? We'll see. Last one under that, we have the VR, which is the professional whole rig they've come out with. They launched that in August and they sold out immediately. It's 6 GoPros all mounted together, and it makes a virtual reality type of beautiful feature. It's the best virtual reality rig I've seen so far. It's very high end. It's $5,000 a piece. So it's extremely expensive. That's why they're not going to move a lot of units of it. But I believe a decent amount of professionals around the world will want that unit, will get that unit in the quarter. So I put 8,000 as my unit number there, which we come out to just a tad under $1 billion in revenue. That's over 300 million more dollars than what the analysts have for their normal estimates. So you can see there, we have a huge difference between what I think and what analysts think. Let's move on. Let's get to the other stocks, because not everybody's interested in GoPro, but in my opinion, you should be, because that stock is going to perform extremely well. Next stock up we have is Win. Win staying in the category. I believe Win's a buy just as much as ever. Win's a simple one. I have no numbers to break down on Win, but I know they're going to do damn good. Steve Win's got a track record of opening record-breaking resort after record-breaking resort. They just opened Wynn Palace. That's going to be a record breaker. It's going to be the most profitable, in my opinion, the most profitable resort in the entire world. Not just the most profitable casino, the most profitable resort in the entire world. I believe they're going to knock numbers out of the water, regardless of whether Macau grows a ton or they just stay stagnant, which Macau's numbers have been kind of stagnant, which is actually a great thing, because Macau's numbers for the last 2 years, if you tracked them, have been horrible. They've been falling month over month, down 10%, 20%, 30%, awful. The fact now that they've reached a point, the trough I call it, where everything's just stagnant, and now analysts are actually expecting Macau revenue to begin climbing again in not the current quarter, but next quarter. That's big. That's very big. But the fact is, like I said, regardless of whether the Macau market starts to grow a lot again or not, Wynn Palace is going to do extremely well, extremely well. He's done it over and over. Steve Wynn's done it over and over. You bet against him, then you're betting against 40 years of history and 40 years of proving the doubters wrong. So remember that. The last stock up we have is Apple. Apple's the new addition to the bunch. Apple, I did not like Apple for a while. I didn't. And then I saw iPhone 7. And then I saw what happened with Samsung, with their phones blowing up and these kinds of things, and just all this negativity around Samsung. And I said, I like Apple. I like Apple a lot. Then you look at the services revenue. Services revenue has been growing 20, 30%. That category, services, is so profitable. It is so profitable, the services category. So that's growing insane. I believe iPhone 7 will sell much better than 6S. I'm talking 10 to 15% more units, which is big when you're talking about how big Apple's numbers are. Everybody's expecting Apple's numbers to be down. This current quarter we're in, they're expecting Apple's numbers to be down. Next quarter, they're expecting Apple's numbers to be down. I believe they'll both be up around 5 to 10%. So there's a big difference between what I believe and what the analysts believe. The analysts believe that Apple's just going to keep shrinking in these revenues and these profits. I don't think that's the case. And not only do I think they're not going to be stagnant, I think they're going to grow over the next few quarters and the next year. I think Apple's really going to surprise a lot of people. They're going to catch a lot of people off guard. And then the same thing's going to happen that's always happened with Apple. Everybody jumps back and they say, whoa, look what Apple's doing. And they jump in and it pushes the share price up and up and up because they see what's going on. It's trading at a 13 PE right now. A 13 PE for arguably the safest company in the world to invest in. They pay a great dividend and they raise it every year. A phenomenal balance sheet. Buying back stock left and right. There are so many things going good for Apple right now that I would not be surprised if that stock's over $150 within the next 12 months. At some point, I believe it will get there. We'll just have to see how it all plays out. They're going to catch a lot of people off guard. I can guarantee you that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this today, guys. Those are the three stocks. GoPro, Wynn, Apple. Those are my buys. We shall see how they all perform over the next month, and then on November 1st, we get to cover and see how things did. Hopefully good, hopefully good. If you haven't subscribed, you may want to. I talk a ton about investing, stock market related videos, what stocks I'm buying, things like that. Talk about personal finance, and I talk about business. I'm a young entrepreneur, I own my own business, and I give a lot of tips on business. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a great day.